welcome to my human design channel. My name is Zsuzsi. This is HD by Z. If you're new here, this is a space for anyone and everyone who loves human design. I make videos mostly about celebrities and their relationships, analyzing their charts. I also talk about the system itself, and sometimes I interview people who I've worked with in the past so you can get an idea of what human design can do for you personally. Today, I'm going to be talking about a controversial couple, Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith. They've been together for quite some time, and not that long ago, there was an incident that happened at the Oscars. Feels like it was yesterday, even though it was over a year ago. And I've been talking about a part of Will's chemistry with other people. And so I thought I'd bring it here and sort of give you guys the down low about why that might have gone down the way that it did. But before we get into it, I just want to remind you, all of my information will be in the show notes below, how you can get in touch with me, my website, all of those things will be in a master link. There you'll see that I do human design readings, I do couples analysis, of course, I also do relationship coaching, and I run an online community for women called The Beehive. There you get access to all of my previous workshops. We have a weekly coaching call. We just started a personal development book club in there, and we're on a chat all day long. You get to have lots of my attention there. So that's a really accessible way to work with me. And if you want to work with me in person, we're hosting a very special retreat July 13th through 17th in Mount Shasta. The link for that will also be below. It's a deep journey inward in beautiful Mount Shasta, which is a very mystical place. I would love for you to check that out and see if it's correct for you. All right, so in case you've been living under a rock, there was an incident with Will Smith that got him banned from the Oscars, not this year, but the year before, wherein Chris Rock was the host and he had made a jab at Jada, who was sitting in the front row with Will. And this was not something that Will took lightly. So he got up from his seat, walked onto the stage, and slapped Chris Rock across the face. A lot of people thought it was staged at first, but when we saw Chris's shock, we could tell that it absolutely was not. And that was not received well, obviously, by the public. And so he and Jada have been banned from the award ceremony, probably indefinitely. And people really wanted to know what was up with them. I mean, people have been trying to figure out this relationship for a really long time. I'm not a fourth line, so I'm not privy to too many of the rumors and any of the really underground tea about these two, but there's definitely some stuff about how Will might be part of the gay Illuminati in Hollywood, and how Jada's just his beard, which seemed kind of odd. Like, if she was just that, then why would he get so upset? But I wanted to check underneath it all and see what was going on below the surface. So let's start with Will and why that slap might have been actually kind of correct for him. All right, so this is Will Smith. He is a generator. He's emotional authority, single definition, a 6-2 profile on the left angle cross of healing. Now, as you can see, even though Will is a generator, he has a lot of openness in his chart. He only has this single channel, and this channel he has twice, meaning that it is both on the conscious side of his chart, denoted in black, and the unconscious side of his chart, denoted in red. And this is the channel of mating. Mating obviously seems like it would just be about reproduction itself, but as such, it is a very sensitive channel. and it takes things very personally, and it's a tribal channel. So this is really all about the family. The tribe is about your family, about your loved ones, and the tribe is very fierce. We protect our own. I say we because I have a tribal channel as well, and it is very fierce. When it comes to the people in my immediate circle, like, don't fuck with me, right? So Will has this very concentrated sensitivity to his tribe. And then there's a lot of openness in the chart. And the openness is where we filter from the outside world. And what he was filtering was his wife, who was sitting right next to him. So let's take a look at her chart real quick. So this is Jada. She is a projector. She is also emotional authority. She is split definition, a 3-5 profile on the right angle cross of Eden. So we just did a video about Taylor Swift and Joe Alwyn and how projectors and generators are just very different. They're very different personality-wise. They're very different in terms of how they see the world. In this case, they are both the same authority, so they're both emotional, and she also has an emotional tribal sensitivity built into it. It may not take things as personally as the 59-6 does, but it definitely means that they are aligned in how they feel the importance of their tribe is in terms of priorities. And because Jada has this very focused and penetrating aura, you know, it might have been very uncomfortable for Will to be experiencing her discomfort as he was sitting next to her. And that might have been the reason why he actually lashed out. So let's take a look at these two together. So together they are 7 and 2 work to do, meaning they have 7 centers defined and 2 open. And these are 2 very intense dilemmas. The open ego is about trying to prove, but they're not here to prove anything to anyone. That's the not self theme of the ego center. And the not self theme of the G center is about being lost, because people with an open G are here to be brought to where they're meant to go by others. But together, these two are both still lost. And so I would venture to guess that if we were to look at their children, they probably have defined Gs. And in a way, that has helped them find direction within themselves. But there's a lot of work to do in this relationship. And supposedly, they've been doing that work over the last 20 plus years. They have 2 children. Their children are also in the industry and music and acting and all of that stuff. And Jada has her red table talks, which she does with her daughter and her mother. So again, very tribal family. And they have 3 electromagnetic connections together. One of them is the channel of preservation, which, as you can see, is opposite the 59-6. So the channel of mating is all about creating more tribe members, and the 50-27 is all about caring for those tribe members. So this is a very tribal bunch, and it's all about caring for one another first and foremost. So now that we see what was going on underneath the surface, does that really excuse the way that Will Smith behaved? Does his behavior warrant being banned from the Oscars? Is it toxic masculinity? What was it? Well, honestly, what this was all about is that Chris Rock made a joke about Jada Pinkett's hair. And what most of the world, I guess, didn't know was that Jada has alopecia, which is why her hair was so short. And she refuses to wear a wig. Kudos to her, honestly. And the thing about the 59-6, this very sensitive channel, is that it doesn't just put out emotions like all of the other channels of the solar plexus, it also takes them in, right? So he may have been taking in her tribal sensitivity, and he may have been experiencing her anger or her bitterness towards the situation. But the thing about the solar plexus is it's not about reactivity. That's what you're really here to learn about yourself as an emotional being, is that you're not here to be reactive to things. But of course, if you're unaware of these things, and if you have this overwhelming experience that your tribe is being messed with, then I can absolutely see why it was that Will just couldn't sit back and take it. You know, his reactivity just went through the roof, and there was nothing he could do to stop it at the time. Now, is that an excuse? I would say it probably isn't, but it definitely shows us that most violence is emotional violence. You know, most violence happens within the home, actually. It doesn't happen between strangers, because if you don't have an emotional connection to some other person, then the charge isn't really there. Right. And so that may have been the reason why this happened. Now, one of the interesting things to look at also is Chris Rock's chart. You know, he's the third party involved in all of this. So what is his design? Let's take a look. Well, would you look at that? Well, Chris Rock is also a generator. He's also emotional authority, split definition, 6'2" on the left angle cross of masks. And look at that. He also has the 59-6, so he potentially understands exactly how that joke landed from the perspective of emotional sensitivity. But there's one other thing that I really want to point out here, which is that Chris's chart also includes the 2343, the channel of structuring, which is an individual channel, and it's called the genius to freak. And the reason it's called that is because as somebody who is, you know, hired to write jokes for the public, he is either considered to be a genius the way he expresses things, because that's what comedy is, right? It's like dialing up the volume on life. It is showing you behind the curtain, behind the mask, if you will. That's hilarious. It's really taking something that is true and pointing out what's funny about it. Now, if that lands correctly with the audience, then he's going to be hailed as a genius. If everybody there can see the humor in it, then it will be celebrated. But if it doesn't land, if somebody takes that personally and they don't see the humor in it, then you're going to be considered a freak. And this is something that's a really fine line, right? Like somebody else might have thought that that joke was really funny, or perhaps the fact that people did find it funny is what made Will so upset, because he knew how upsetting that was for his wife. But nobody else knew that. Chris probably didn't know that. And so he would probably understand the sensitivity. And apparently he did. He said that he's completely forgiven Will and that they have no bad blood, because as a companionship, he probably recognizes that he, you know, hit below the belt, and that in a way he knows that Will is justified in the way that he behaved. Now, I am absolutely not condoning violence in this case. I think the healthy thing for Will to have done is to pulled Chris aside afterwards and been like, listen, that really wasn't cool. Like, I really need you to apologize either directly to my wife or publicly in some way, because like, this is just not going to fly. And that would have been the mature thing to do. That would have been the non-reactive thing to do. But of course, that's not what happened. So here we are. The other thing too is I don't think Jada really like chimed in with her 2 cents. And I believe the reason why this is because she's a 3-5 profile. She's a 5th line that gets projected on, and the 5th line is very protective of their reputation. And she was like, you know what? Don't look at me. That's all him. I didn't ask him to do anything. It was spare of the moment. And like, let's just be done with it and move right on. So that's what I think this all comes down to. Will lost his cool. You know, I don't think that generally speaking, he's a violent man, but that was just one step too far. And this is the result. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. If you have any questions or comments, please put them down below. I'd love to hear them. I'd also love to hear if there are any celebrity couples you'd like me to analyze in the future. I have a long list going, so bear with me. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you again for watching. Until next time, ciao for now.